Our guest today is a legendary Grammy-winning artist. As one-fourth of the group The Monkees, he took the world by storm in the 1960s and continues to entertain crowds today. In recent years, he's contributed music to children's projects and been named by Yahoo Music as the #1 teen idol of all time. On October 30th through November 1st, he'll be appearing at the Chiller Theater Convention in Parsippany, New Jersey. It's our pleasure to have on the phone with us Davy Jones. Davy, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. How are you going today?
Oh, great. Well, first off, we want to congratulate you. We heard about your recent marriage.
Yeah, we got married. Jesse and I were married on August the 30th. We had a small gathering of really close friends, and then we spent some time in Bali, in Indonesia, which was kind of exciting. It's a long way to travel, but it was a very exciting place to be, and we, engaged in some of the local attractions. We rode some elephants, and we visited some sanctuaries and, some temples, and very, very eye-opening, innovative sort of, way of living, some of the things we saw. So, but, then we came back to America, and we realized how lucky we were to be living in the greatest country in the world. And funny enough, we got off the plane on a Thursday, and on the Friday we flew up to Connecticut to join Michael Bolton and people like Dave Mason and a number of other television celebrities from Burn Notice and different other programs, and we celebrated an occasion that raised money. I understand Michael does it every year and has done for the last 17 or more years, and so Jill London was there, newscaster person, and just lots of great people that contributed lots of money. And then we came back and flew out to California, and we were on the Newlywed Game, which is kind of interesting, which will be shown fairly soon. Check DavyJones.net for that airing. That was quite eye-opening as well. And then we flew back, and a day and a half later, by popular demand, we flew back out to California, and we took part in a benefit for, representing the lighter side of music, and we appeared with Elizabeth Taylor and Sharon Stone in the benefit for AIDS, and there again we contributed and raised some money, and we done a couple of concerts in the meantime. We were at the Fallsview Casino in Niagara Falls, which is like our second honeymoon 30 days later, and we were at B.B. King's in New York on the and then we followed it up by going to Annapolis, which is in Maryland. Gorgeous, beautiful town. If you've never been there, you've got to go check that. As is New York, of course. We had a great show there, and now I'm back in Pennsylvania relaxing with my beautiful horses, and rode two of them this morning, and rode one of them down to the post office, which is just across the fields, across the farm that I live on, and tied it up outside, and, everyone thinks that I'm on the witness protection program, but, well, having a good time with life,
So, Davy, later this month you're going to be in Jersey at the Chiller Theater Convention. Have you been to the Chiller Convention before?
No, in fact, I've never really been involved with any of these occasions. Other than about a couple of months ago, I was invited by my old friend, dear friend, Gary Strobel, in California, who's an archivist. He's got so much footage and film on so many different artists over the last 35, 40 years. Who is an associate of Henry Diltz, who has taken pictures of Joni Mitchell and Doug Kershaw and, Graham Nash. And he did, the Buffalo Springfield albums, and he did a lot of stuff in the 60s and 70s, and has become quite a prominent photographer with a gallery in New York and one in, Newport Beach and other places around the country. So, all those pictures are now surfacing. And most of the pictures you've seen recently of Michael Jackson on the tabloids were Henry Diltz's pictures.
Okay.
Not credited, of course, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. It's not about dollars and cents at the end of the day. So, looking forward to meeting, people. It's an interesting thing for me because, my performance on the stage is, there's always those footlights and a little distance. But, I try to draw the people in. So, I'm not the kind of guy that signs an autograph and says goodbye, it gets to be a bit monotonous for my people around me because I'm very inquisitive to people's, reasons for being there, or somebody says something to me and I'll spout off a story. So, it's going to be quite an extensive session. I'm glad it's a 3-day, 30, 31, and the 1st of November. So that will be fun for me just to be there and have people sort of, tell me that I don't look any different, It's interesting. Once you become a celebrity, you become more attractive, you become better looking, you become, more articulate and be all more interesting in many ways. And in the real world, you're just a fella. You're just a guy who, was at the right place at the right time. And, anyone that knows me will know that all I care about is being remembered the way I used to be, the way they thought I was. Remember me the way you hoped I'd be. So I look forward to that personal one-on-one occasion and, sharing that time with, I understand, a number of other, flamboyant celebrities that grace that kind of occasion. And
you will not be disappointed. We've covered this event in the past. You will meet some very, very interesting but very friendly people.
Yeah, great. In fact, I got I get calls all the time from, people that mostly I don't know. And I've been able to, reach into other people's lives. This is what's happened with the Monkees. The Monkees traveled all over the world. It was a show that went to 36 countries. It was a show that made 56 episodes in such a short period of time, We made a movie. We did a couple of TV specials, and, it's something that's enriched me in many, many ways, obviously, because of the association. It's given a lot of people a lot of happiness. And I was never more surprised by its longevity. I never thought when I got into it that it'd be something that would stand the test of time. But I think good things do stand the test of time. And it's something that I embrace, and it's something that I endorse, and it's something that I enjoy. So the Monkees has brought so much pleasure to my life, and so many rewards, And so I got a call the other day from John Provost. I don't know if you'll remember that name. He's a young man that used to be in all the 16s and the Tiger Beats, along with Sajid Khan and sort of Jim Morrison and Mark Lindsay and Peter Noon and Bobby Sherman. And, it's quite interesting to get a call from John Provost. John Provost is a kid that was on a TV show. I think he was with Lassie or something like that. He visited me at my house 40 years ago, and out of the blue, you won't remember me and you won't remember this conversation we had, but I said, John Provost, I know who you are. You're kidding me. We had a game of pool on my table. I don't think I took any money off him at the time, but if it had been somebody else, I might have tried. But, yeah.
Well, I tell you, you will definitely enjoy yourself there. I was curious to ask you because while the Chiller is primarily, it's a horror movie convention, but they have a lot of pop culture icons as guests. But just out of curiosity, do you have any horror movie experience?
I was married twice before. Is that like a horror movie? Only joking. But I must say, I believe for the first time in my life that I am truly in love. My wife and I, Jessie Pacheco-Jones, she's actually a flamenco dancer as well as an actress. She spent last year on a TV soap opera for Telemundo, a show called El Chocolate. She's traveled all over the world dancing flamenco. We're putting a show together right now which will feature many, many artists, much the same as River Dance. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that on the Broadway stage, or the stages around the country, or Vegas or someplace like that, because it's truly an amazing spectacle to see and to feel the energy that you feel when you see this. You know, the country is definitely favoring the Latin influence. I, in fact, just recorded a new single with Ron Dante. You'll remember the name. He's
a friend of our radio program. He's been on the show before.
Yeah, Ron is a dear friend of mine, too, and we've been pals for years. We recorded a thing together written by an associate. It's called Amore. It's not the other Amore. It's a new Amore. It's got a lot of Latin in it. It's got a lot of Latin guitar, and it's got wonderful things happening inside that little record that will be hopefully heard by many. I have a new album called She, which is all classic tunes like Fly Me to the Moon, Wonderful World, and This Guy's in Love, Cry, Johnny Ray, Always on My Mind, you know, sort of just songs that my dad would have sung to my mother, you know. Very, very lightly produced, with every instrument being heard, and no background vocals, nobody else, no doubling of the voice, just me singing, and just traveling and having a great time at this point. You know, we were in New York a night before we did the B.B. Kings, and which was, I think, on the 3rd of October. And we went off to a club and listened to Mary Wilson, you know, from the Supremes, someone I've known for many, many, many years. Feinstein's, which is a very upmarket sort of, I think it's in the Regent Hotel, I'm not quite sure, in New York. So we diversify, and then we went off dancing to Swing 46, you know. I don't know if you know that place, between 8th and 9th in New York. Just a magical time, between 8th Avenue and 9th Avenue, Swing 46. Check it out. Big band.
It sounds like Mary's life treating you well.
Yeah. We ended up with a little soda, a little drink over at Joe Allen's, which is an old friend of mine for 50 years, 45 years, you know, who's done quite well for himself. You know, he's still at the same place, still serving those drinks and good food. So, yeah, things are good. We're having a great time. Look forward to meeting some scary people, you know, obviously Vincent Price and all those different people that I grew up with, and now it's turned into something a little different, obviously. One of my favorite movies ever, and I'm sure some of your, you know, convention goers will remember The Pit and the Pendulum. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
Which was one of my classics. And I have many movies. I have 16 millimeters of great stuff like Days of Wine and Roses and, you know, The Great Escape, and just stuff that I've still got. And sometimes I'll roll it up in the attic and sort of get up there for a few hours with a glass of beer and sort of like, okay, it's movie time. And you hear that clutter, the sound of that reel going round, you know. It's all to do with that, you know. It's all to do with that sort of, that movie feel, you know, sort of, and the popcorn. We actually just went to the movies last night. We went to see Carlos Ponte, who was a friend of Jessie's and mine, who was in the soap opera with her back in last year, in the thing with Vince, whatever his name is, the couples. It's about couples.
Oh, how was it?
I liked it. It was a little slow. Carlos was about the best thing in it, I think. He played a yoga teacher, and he's like ripped. You know, I mean, ripped. His body is so ripped, and you know, and he's a father of like 3 kids and lives in Florida, and you know, it's tough for some of the Latin artists to break in, but, you know, they've got to be talking like Salma Hayek or somebody else that doesn't know how to speak the language, you know, which is not the case, you know. It's Spanglish. We have a great affection to the Latin, to the Spanish people, you know. I mean, the way they treat their children, the way they look after their, you know, sort of well-being. It's the second language in America now, so, you know, we have to We have to be very, just on one note, I always say that when I first met Jesse's dad, he couldn't speak English, which is a word of a lie. And I said to him, what we need to do is we need to give you some sentences and you put them together. So I said, I'll give you 3 words. I said, I'll give you green, pink, and yellow. And you put it into a sentence. And he said, in my country, when the phone goes a-gring, I pink it up and say yellow. So we have a bit of fun, and we have no barriers, We say what we feel, we act the way we should, and hopefully we'll be maybe visiting the George Lopez show soon, too, so maybe you'll see us on that. We'll see what goes
nice. His new late night show.
Yeah, there's a lot of things on the table, but, I'm sort of pretty much, stuck in my little world of horses and so the countryside. The leaves are changing here now, and it's fall, and it's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. This weekend we'll be in Franklin, Pennsylvania. The next day we'll fly down the 18th to Fort Lauderdale. We have an apartment on the beach down there, and we'll spend a couple of days there, and then we'll go to the Diplomat Hotel and take part in the Boys and Girls Club of America benefit, sing a couple of tunes, Jesse will dance, and then obviously Thanksgiving shows up on the weekend, and then we'll just enjoy the family, and then we'll jump on a plane and fly up to Newark, and we'll see everybody on the 30th, the 31st, and the 1st. Looking forward to it. It's going to be great fun.
We can't wait. Davy, this is Pepper Paul, and it's such an honor to speak with you. And you're also an accomplished writer and storyteller, and you recently completed your 2nd edition of your autobiography, Daydream Believing.
Yes,
Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Well, it's across the kitchen table stuff. I don't know if you've got the gist of this conversation we've just been having, but, I talk a mile a minute. You ask me one question,
I love it.
I answer 25. But, it's only because I've seen so many interviews, and, the people are plugging a movie or they're doing whatever they might be. But my conversation has always been, in your face, up front, as my show is when I perform. The autobiography is about my life, growing up in the north of England and then moving into Newmarket to be a jockey, racehorse jockey. It's always stuck with me, and I've owned horses. I got 11 horses in the back of the house here, and I got, a couple of mares in foal for next season. Hopefully they'll, turn into something special. It talks about my school days, moving on into my, early teens when I was on Broadway as the Artful Dodger in Oliver, and then moving into, Hollywood and becoming, interested in acting in television. They signed me up soon after I was on the Ed Sullivan Show with the Beatles in 1964. I performed a song from the show, and with the other cast members. And soon after, having seen the Beatles, I said to myself, I like this. All these screaming girls, and so I went in the studio, I recorded, and soon after that, Columbia Pictures signed me to a 7-year contract, and then they brought me out to Hollywood in late 64, early 65, and they said, well, maybe he's good for Wacky Ship in the Army, maybe he's good for Hogan's Heroes, maybe he's good for Robin in Batman, maybe he's good for... And then all of a sudden, the idea of the Monkees came along, and that changed my life, and obviously... changed my career. People see this guy with his stars in his eyes who gets the girl, 3 times an episode, and obviously it put a little dent in my acting career, but, time moves on, and in the early 70s, I wrote about, Tom Jones' show and Tennessee Ernie Ford Thanksgiving Day specials, and, traveling all over the world, entertaining, Japan, Australia, Canada, England, as a solo artist. I talk about, my children, and I talk about everything that's happened to me. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, the names have been changed to protect the guilty. Actually, the names have been changed to protect me from the guilty. And there's so many good things have happened to me, and so many things that, don't need to be talked about. So things that would be interesting to other people. The book is definitely not a kiss and tell. And I've been in touch with my inner self here, looking towards writing another book that might be a little more sort of personal. But everything in my life has its sections, has its place. They all intertwine and intermingle from time to time. But for the most part, I try to keep my private life private. I try to keep my show business life, very, very, sort of upfront and very, current. And then until there's something to write about further, then why not just, enjoy the fruits of your labor? I ended up with talking about, people that have touched my life, people like Jan Berry from Jan and Dean, and people like, Lulu, and people like, sort of Jim Morrison, and people like Keith Moon especially, and Harry Nielsen, and just people that have, sort of been, instrumental in my, sort of observations of how one should be treated or how one should be, expressing oneself. So it's just a bit of a over the kitchen table therapy session with myself, to tell you the truth. We sold about 100,000 of the first one, and then we've tried to, think about, making another one. I've got a couple of different projects on the table. I have a musical adapted from a book that's seemingly, in its last stages of development, and I thought about, re-recording a few, or recording a few things. As I say, I got the album She, I've got a single, Amore. Well, things are good, We're looking forward to coming up with some kind of costume that we can wear on Halloween, too, so, we don't want to be left out of this little episode.
Now, has the Amore single been released yet?
No, it hasn't. We're looking to make a new B-side that might be also a good rendition of my voice, Ron Dante's production, and just to make it right. We're not in a hurry. It doesn't have to happen. The record will stand up whether it's done this summer, this Christmas, or whether it's done next year. It's still there. We've made it. It's ready to go. And we just need to, just discuss other stuff. We talked about maybe, re-recording some of, Neil Sedaka's material, some of his classic stuff. Maybe Dylan, maybe Harry Nielsen, maybe... Harry Chapin, Jim Croce, all those people that have been, sort of instrumental in the fact that I felt they were all very, very good. So maybe we'll get in the studio and maybe we'll sit down at a desk and just finalize some of our ideas as far as the in book form. But nothing's written in stone. We don't have to do it all. We don't really have to do any of it. We just have to enjoy what we've got and what we've experienced so far in life.
Well, Davy, I want to ask you. This is a very serious question that we have because it's frankly something that here at the station we play your music all the time. We know that there are just thousands upon thousands of fans who love you guys. And something we can't understand, maybe you can give us some perspective on this. Davy, how on earth is it that you guys have not been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet?
Well, it's all about choice. And neither has Neil Diamond or Neil Sedaka or, many of the great artists of the 50s and 60s. Yet you've got some artists in there that have been around for 5 or 6 or 7 years, rap artists, whomever, who are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's not any big flaw on our landscape. I don't particularly, think about that. I make a joke and say, well, what's it doing in Cleveland anyway? But, it's a bit disrespectful to the people of Cleveland because it's a great little town. I've been there many times and I enjoy it when I'm there. There's some places I like to go. However, it's run by a guy who owns the thing. He's a German guy who's got, certain, sort of needs and certain business, associates, and maybe it's just, a catch-22 at this point, because he's not, done it so far. But he, as I say, didn't do it for Neil Diamond either, or Sedaka, or, Johnny Ray. Where are these people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I actually have my own little Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is a church that I bought here in town. There's 3 churches. They're called the 3 churches. Mine is an old Lutheran church that I've refurbished, and I'm turning it into a children's theater and a memorabilia museum. So all my gold records, which are 20, 30 of them that we have, and framed pictures, collective pictures and posters that I've put together, and jigsaw puzzles and lunch boxes and just endless amounts of memorabilia. I mean, I was in a shop yesterday and I bought 25 albums, the old albums. One of them was Dusty Springfield. One was Jim Messina. One was, sort of Jimmy Swaggart. All these different things that I've remembered over the years. These different artists. And so they'll be displayed along a wall, or, I've got probably 200 or 300 albums of people that have, that I've listened to, or people I've looked at, so it's not such a big deal. It's only a big deal that people would go around and go in there and say, okay, all right, where's the Monkees? Let me find the Monkees, right? And they're not there, And so go to the administrator and say, where's the Monkees? And the administrator would say, I don't know where they are either. I can't understand it. But it used to be a thing where people voted, where you had a panel of people voting every 6 months or every 12 months. I don't think that exists because, they can't overlook certain artists, and probably the Monkees was one of them, but it's no skin off our back. We've already been there and done that. We've got the T-shirt. We don't need to be, I've got a picture that of Mickey and Peter and Mike and myself and the producers with Jimmy Durante in it, accepting the Emmy Award. We got the Billboard Awards, we got the Grammy Awards, we've got all those things. This is a newfangled, sort of merchandisable idea, and it's great, and I hope it brings good, vibes for the city and for all the people involved. But it's not anything, it's saying, why aren't I a member of the 21 Club, in New York City, or why can't I get into, Beverly Hills Golf Club, It's just a, it's just a thing,
Essentially, it's a project.
Sort of.
Well, if there is anybody that deserve to be in that club, it is, in our opinion, the Monkees. And we've signed the petition. We've encouraged our listeners to do so, and hopefully we do see you guys get in someday, though.
Yeah, that'd be cool. No problem. That would be nice. But it's not an end of the world situation, and we'll move on, and just do what we do. And so look forward to, just enjoying whatever we've got in front of us, and sort of to the best of our abilities.
Well, Davy, I want to thank you so much for taking the time with us today. Would you mind, before we end the interview, would you mind doing a promo for our station?
Hey, this is Davy Jones, and you're cruising on 92.1 WVLT.
Hey, Davy, that was great. Thank you so much.
No problem. You guys have a great day.
Yeah, and such an honor. Thanks, Davy.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.